Hey and welcome. Hey and welcome, you guys. Thank you for clicking on this video. Before we get started, please do all of the things at the bottom of the screen. Like the video is a free way to support the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tell a friend to tell a friend, please and thank you. Comment down in the comment section, sharing your thoughts, but keeping it cute. And share this video where you share your videos, because sharing is indeed caring, y'all. If you want to put a little something in the tip jar for your girl, please and thank you. To Cash App and Venmo are there. Baby, let's get into it. We're here for another episode of Imperfect Women. I'm going to say season 1. Episode 7, Fabulation. You learn something new every day, okay, baby? Because you have no idea what Fabulation was, but Imperfect Women. I know you haven't lying. And no, none of it make no sense. Don't none of it make no sense, but we're going to get into it. So the word of the day is fabulation, y'all. Okay, fabulation is a made-up story or a lie, especially a far-fetched one, baby. Howard be using them words, but so can Mary. All right, let's get into their story. So we open up and we're still at the hospital, and Mary is high, okay, and she is frantic, but they do manage to get Artemis's pulse back. Howard said, "She's here because of you." And every time Howard talks, I just want to, clock him in the throat real quick. This is a show. We having fun. So Artemis, she's on her way to recovery when we hear narration that Mary never missed a pill. So she was surprised when she ended up pregnant, baby. We see her with them 2 lines on that test. And she said she was young and her career was just starting. So I said, so is what they're telling us that Howard purposely got her pregnant somehow, somewhere? I mean, we know how pregnancy works. Yeah. Your girl is not slow. So maybe he was switching out some pills, because I hate the pills. I tried it once before, not for your girl, but you're supposed to take it a certain amount a day, and there's only a certain amount of effective pills, which is the actual time you can get pregnant. And then the rest of them are kind of like, I wouldn't say placebo sugar pills. So was he switching out the weeks? Was he, were you allowing Howard to give you this medicine? I'm not even sure exactly how it happened in that way. I know the physical way it happened. Although, it's clear that he didn't even want the child, and he was willing to deny him, or according to what they told us on Mary's episode. Because again, do we know that Mary is a reliable narrator? We're going to get into it, because just at this very moment, it says she was a natural storyteller since she was young. Stories were her escape, and her obsession with words led her to Howard. So again, they keep telling us that she's a storyteller. So are these stories, or is this fact? Is this fiction? What is it that we're seeing presented in front of us? Now, for me right now, as of episode 7, I'm trying to take it as fact, but Mary, even by the end of this episode, ain't off my suspect list, okay? She's just not. Like I said, it's a possibility, since she be high all the time, okay, that she could have just, not remembered exactly what happened. Oh, stank behind Howard could have tried to cover it up, although I don't know, because we're going to get into that also. I stopped saying that. But when we start to talk about some more details of the case. So the greatest story she ever told was life with Howard as a wife and mother. What's her happily ever after? Child, Mary was made for greater things, okay? And she is clearly miserable with this awful man. I would be too. So Mary is asleep by Artemis's side when Eleanor comes in. Howard, he is nowhere to be found, and she fills Eleanor in on how she took Junie and Marcus home the night before, and she wants to talk about the pills, okay? But the police arrive, and now we knew this was coming because the baby had took them street pharmaceuticals, okay, after all. So you end up in the hospital, overdose, chances are you're gonna lose custody of your kids. Surprised that they both didn't, but Howard's a SOB, so there's that. So as Mary makes her way down the hall, we're seeing a TV on in one of the rooms, and we see Cora apologizing because Papa Hennessy don't play all that, and the family is offering a $50,000 reward for anybody to find Nancy's killer. So baby child services is also there, with Howard standing right next to them. They've launched an investigation and they have an emergency protective order, and she has to leave the home and can't have any unsupervised contact with her minor children. So, of course, Mary is devastated because if there is nothing Mary is, she is a mother and she's a good mother. And she's saying as much. She's like, I'm a good mother. Howard, talk to them. So Howard's like, can I speak to my wife alone? But not because he wants to help at all. Where is it? Where is it? What is Howard? By what are you referring to? So he's like, Artemis wet the bed and woke him up because she was looking for you, but you were gone. I started searching the house. And baby, he says, you left a mess, which we know Mary was searching around. She was in one closet. She went to another closet. I didn't realize that that was his office. That's where she pulled the floorboard up. And baby, Mary did not clean up none of what she did. So a mess it was. He says, you took something from my closet. So Mary's wheels start to turn, right? She's like, what is he saying to me? Because what did she find in the closet? That little satchel with the clatter ring that she had gave Nancy that's supposed to be on Nancy's finger, and Nancy's no longer with us. So now why is the ring not with Nancy? And if the ring is not with Nancy, it would be with Robert when they gave him her personal effects, or Eleanor, or whoever went to get them child. So she's like, the pills were on the highest shelf. Now, I said that last episode. I couldn't be too sure, but that's what I could see of the situation. She's like, you did this. You poisoned our baby because I know you killed Nancy. Mary, I'm inclined to believe you. And also, it's Howard we're dealing with. So he's like, they're about to lock you up for a few pills and a 10, but they don't even know the half of it. He tells her that she may never see the girls again. So Mary starts to unravel, child. Okay, like I said, Mary starts to unravel. She starts to punching Howard. Um, as he's playing the victim. Oh my God, stop it, please. And of course the police step in and she's like, he poisoned our baby. Now Eleanor comes and she gotta grab her girl, okay, and just grab her, hold him, help her get her shit together. She's like, girl, you got to stop. Cut this shit out. So she's got to be a good friend because this don't look good for the child services and the policeman in the middle of the hospital. Well, at the time, Eleanor doesn't know what he did, but it's like we as an audience know what he did, but you just cannot have this reaction with Howard. It's not going to help anything. So next thing we see Mary at the precinct, baby. She got the page of poetry and Nancy's ring. So she's explaining about this book of poetry and production and the ring and all the things. And the detective is like, so you didn't know this when I was at your house the other day? No, nothing? Oh, okay. And she's like, I just found out. But she also does admit that she may have ignored some of the signs before. She'd be like, she's like, you'd be surprised what you can get yourself to believe. And in a sense, I agree. But some of it, it comes to a point, right? So a box arrived the same time as Eleanor is coming to get Mary. So the detective asks Eleanor to come in, and she's like, I don't have nothing to add. The detective's like, oh, just come in. And so she comes in, and the detective starts taking things out of the box. See a perfume, a pair of earrings, a washcloth with a monogram on it. And Eleanor, identifies them as Nancy's things. So Mary is like a deer in headlights, child, okay? She's like, because she knows Howard is responsible for this. And the detective asks, like, well, how did these get into your home? Now, Eleanor is befuddled, and she asks Mary, she's like, girl, what did you do? Like, why you got our home grossed up at your house? Like, how, Sway? Tell me the details. So Mary's like, she might never going to notice these things were missing. And Howard had went and told the detective that Mary was jealous and obsessed with Nancy, and this is why she was accusing him of having an affair. Howard, you son of a gun. He got the gift of gab. I don't understand it, but it works. It works for him. Typically, them narcissists do. That's we just gonna call a thing a thing. And I said, Mary, why would you steal from your friend? Why? Why? And we find out later, but then you left the items. Well, I said, why would you steal from your friend? That don't make no sense. Anyway, we find out some other things about what she was doing with the items later. And why did you have them in your home? She's too busy, being high, and she didn't do no preparing when it came to Howard, because not that we should be stealing our friends, because I think that's what I was trying to get at. Why would you steal the things? And then why would you have the things sitting in your house? Um, Especially when you know your husband and you know you're like putting all this evidence up against him, even in the middle of the night, baby. You were shaking and moving. You used to drink a glass of water and pull your act together. I hope y'all understood what I was just getting at. So the detective says, she's done the job a long time and she doesn't know what she calls what they had, but it wasn't a friendship. I said, we as an audience have been saying the same thing. Whole series. So Mary calls Marcus. She finds out that Artemis is up and can go home the next day. And she says, I'll explain everything later, but not to leave his sisters alone with dad. So he tells her whatever is going on, he's on her side, but he's got to go. Now, I don't know if I fully trust Marcus either, because the whole family is a mess. It's just something about them. Some of the faces he makes in certain situations, I can't tell if he's truly on Mary's side or not. I know everybody wants to alibi him with the whole Eleanor and the gambling thing. So he may very well have done nothing. He might just be a sketchy looking teenager. That could just be it. So Eleanor has set up a meeting with a PI who has the photos of the crime scene to see if they can find any hard evidence that, Howard has done it. So they get up the next morning, they go meet with him at the diner, and they look at the photos. And Mary wants to go to the crime scene, but he's kind of worried about losing his license. So she's like, listen, Howard is a professional. She don't say his name, but she's like, the person who did it isn't a professional. So if he made mistakes, she's going to find it. So they end up going. Now, it's not really a crime scene anymore, so I don't know why he couldn't take her. It's like just a public place. There's no yellow tape anymore. At this point, I think we're like two weeks into it. I'm not exactly sure the time frame, but they go under the bridge to the crime scene. The PI says, the killer was about 6 feet tall and had shoved her into the wall, and she probably died on impact. So then, we find out, because that's not where they found the body, that he drugged the body down to the water, and he started with two hands, but halfway switched to one hand, and it's probably, because of a possible shoulder injury. He says that's just his theories, that's just his thoughts. He don't have no proof to it. And Mary can see it all in her head. And we did see Howard tell Nancy that he had a shoulder injury when he was up there hitting in ballet poses, when he was, demi-plié and all the things. So all roads, lead to Howard. I know it's too easy. Be on episode 7. We almost on 8. So we're almost at the end. So at some point, we got to make it make sense. So that night, Eleanor drives Mary to her house. Everyone is supposed to be at the hospital. No, she is driving Mary to Mary's house. Eleanor says maybe we should just try and go to the doctor's office in the morning, but Mary's like, she got it. But when she goes in there to get the records, Howard pops up. Howard's in there, child. So that's my other thing. Did you talk to Marcus? And Marcus said y'all all at the hospital, and then Howard doubled back. I don't know. I don't know if Marcus is playing both sides of the fence or not. I wouldn't trust Howard either, but I don't know if he's necessarily being honest with Mary or if it's just Mary's narration. Also, as we got into these pills, I kind of wondered, this is, I'm doubling back real quick. How did he get them baby them pills? Did he make it in a smoothie? Because ain't no way you can give them baby them nasty pills and them just take it and not be like, oh my God, that's so gross. Anyway, that's just a side note. So she goes to leave, and I'm worried because we heard, Howard like to push people down the stairs, right? So he's like, what do you have, Mary? And she's like, you killed Nancy, and the police know. They know the killer had an injury in the left shoulder. And I said, Mary, if you don't shut your ass up, just giving it all away, showing all her cards. I think I even had like posted it on social media, like, stop showing your cards, Mary. Mary gonna talk if she don't do nothing else. So Howard is telling her, listen, it's a common injury. And he asked her to sit down and talk. And I just want her to leave, child. I just want her to leave, run her behind out of there. But he insists he hasn't done anything awful and that it's her that's tearing the family apart. And Howard going to gaslight that lady if he don't do nothing else, right? So he's like, ask her, like, what do you want? What's your end game? Because, he want to know. So she says she want him out the house, away from the children, and to rot in jail. He's like, but you still ain't gonna get them kids, baby. I said, Howard, I mean, you a jerk, but you kind of wrong. He's like, or your family, because the family owns a pot farm, so not going to send them there. Eleanor is the godmother, but she's a suspect. So that puts the kids in foster care, and that's not what Mary wants to do. And this is what Howard is doing, is holding us all over her head so she can get a clear idea of what life is going to be like if she just doesn't, bow down, fall in line. So he's like, I still love you, despite your fabulations. Read you what fabulations meant. And he wants to get past it and start over fresh in Ohio. So then that's when she tells him that she spoke to Jenny and she saw the scar, and that's proof. You take a fragile woman and hollow her out until you're all that is left. And she asks why Nancy. Child, we're gonna find out. He says he's sorry, but he wasn't the one with the thing for Nancy. That was you. He went along with her little game, fantasizing about being her, wearing her clothes, putting on her earrings. And while he's talking, this is when we get a flashback, and we see them. They're either in a hotel or at the ballet. I can't really remember. And they're being greeted as Mr. and Mrs. Hennessy. That is Nancy and Robert. And baby, they having sex. I think it was in an elevator, and he is calling her Nancy. Right. So he's like, make sure you tell Detective Gans the whole story, because if I'm guilty, so are you. And then that's also a thing. Like, he could just mean figuratively speaking and not literally, but we cannot discredit anything that happens in this series. So he kisses her and she finally makes it safely out the house. But I said, hold up, what do you mean? You were fantasizing that we are, like, why would you be fantasizing that you're your best friend while we're having sex with our husband? Like, absolutely not. Like, not Beyonce. No, Nancy. And Beyonce is honestly doing too much too for role playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's supposed to be like, naughty nurse or something like that. But I was like, at least if you're doing Beyonce, she's not attainable. But with your friend, like, you ain't wonder why he actually wanted to sample Nancy at some point. Like, as wrong as it may have been, because I ain't saying he was right, but yeah, I'm not even gonna put that thought in your head, partner. You about to call me nothing else but my name, baby, sweetie, honey. So Mary gets in Eleanor's car and she's all frazzled. And as Eleanor's driving, Mary's like, stop the car. So she gets out. She's like, I can't do it. He wins. I could lose my children. He's so much smarter than me. He's always 2 steps ahead. I said, because you never made a plan, Mary. You never made a plan. You just doing stuff all willy-nilly and running your mouth. And that's my whole thing. Should have had them little mints with you. You should have had any of that stuff at the house. Maybe you should have took your damn kids with you. But it's like you just went high, drove on over, allegedly, child, to Jenny's, and then drove over to Eleanor's, and that whole time Howard was just like, okay, baby, well, I'm gonna do what it do. Okay, left the thing in a disarray, took the ring. Like, you did not plan at all. They even say when women are getting a divorce that you basically don't say anything. You set forth a plan into motion and you start doing what it is you need to do. Now, I'm not going to elaborate. Y'all know what y'all need to do, but you do what you need to do. And Mary didn't do what she needed to do. She started finding stuff, putting stuff together like she was damn Nancy Drew over there finding out the Blues Clues, but you can't play those games when it comes to Howard, and that's why he's 2 steps ahead of you. So Eleanor's like, he's a murderer. He murdered our best friend. Like, I know you're tired, girl, and so am I. So we're going to go on home, okay? We're going to get some sleep. We're going to take these medical records to the police in the morning, okay? All right, girl? Okay. So they go back to Eleanor's place, but when she wakes up in the morning, Mary is gone. Baby, she don't answer her phone. Eleanor is calling. She is frantic, and we see exactly what happened. Mary took her punk ass back to Howard in the middle of the night, barefoot. I said, baby, do you not have no shoes on? When they say barefoot and pregnant, now she wasn't pregnant, but she was definitely barefoot. And she's like, I won't say a word. I'm going to be good. I promise. And of course, he takes her in. And of course, Eleanor takes herself on over there in the morning, and she banging on the door. I said, well, Mary was banging on doors. Now it's Eleanor's turn. And she's calling Mary. Mary don't answer the door. Howard comes to the door. He's like, we have neighbors. And she don't want to see you. And she's like, what did you do? He's like, it was her choice. She came back here her own free will. He's kind of explaining to her that marriages have their ups and downs, that they're a family and you are not a part of it. Now get off my property before I call the police. I said, oh, I be wanting to tell her in the face, y'all. So she sees Mary in the window and she calls for her, but Oh no, she sees her in the window and she calls her. No, she tells her, child, the brain, not to be a coward. And then she gotta get her ass in the car because Howard ain't playing with her. So Eleanor goes to the only place she can think of, which is Robert's house, and he is in there getting chastised by his father, like he liked to do. And she's like, listen, Howard killed Nancy. Okay. Like, I'm so sorry. They were having an affair. I don't know when it started, but Mary's got the evidence. And her dad's like, oh, okay, it's solved. But he don't want to help. He don't want to get involved. I know some people are speculating that it's the daddy. I mean, I don't know why he would. He could possibly be 6 feet, which is why my theory about Mary is kind of because if we're being accurate and the suspect is actually 6 feet, then that lets Mary out. But it could have been more than one person. I know they said in the book. I'm not going to tell you what I heard because when I caught that spoiler, I was mad. I know they said in the book it's two people. I'm not going to say who. If you know, you know. But yeah, the 6 foot thing. But then it's like I said, are we being a reliable storyteller? Is this all in our head? Did this actually happen? Is this what he said? I mean, Eleanor was there, so I'm trying to take that at face value. So that's kind of where my Mary theory goes out the window with the whole 6 feet thing. But we're here. So she is asking Mr. Hennessy to call the chief of police. And he's like, well, what about your mom? He's like, my mom in Boston. Like, that's not going to help us. And dad, he doesn't want to take the chance, but Robert's like, you will. He speaks his little speech and he's, saying all the things he got to say. Shout out to Miss Misha. And he's like, I promised to protect her, but you infantilized me, blah, 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 blah. Okay, Robert have a whole ass speech. And he tells him, you're going to call the chief of police or I'm going to expose, basically all the family's dirty laundry, child. He specifies, I'm not going to. So the dad, he calls, okay? He gets on that phone and he calls because he knows what's best for him and that family. And baby, there people go to the house and they pick up Howard and Mary's like, I didn't do it. And as he's heading out the door, he's like, y'all need to call child services. They can't be left unsupervised. I said, you motherfucker. And baby, they came and took her girls, okay? I was shaking my head. We see Mary crying and like the little facility and she's trying to figure out the next step and she's talking to the lady, but she don't really have nothing. Like she can go to court, but it's going to take some time. So the lady is kind of hoping like the best case scenario is that Howard gets out of jail, but it's just like, ugh. So Eleanor has left this message and Mary's kind of listening to it because Eleanor going off, child. She's crying. She's like, we could have figured out something with the girls. Like, I get it, but she got to do what she got to do. So again, we always with a TV. So we hear, we see the TV, we hear the TV that there's breaking news on Nancy's case. An anonymous source offered a tip, and we see a video of the prime suspect, Scott Reed. And baby, we see him looking horrified and running away in that damn denim jacket. Denim. Again, shout out to Miss Misha, baby. And baby, that's where the episode ended. And I call bullshit. That's why I said I know you effing lying at the beginning of this, okay? And how it don't make no sense because y'all not gonna tell me in the 11th hour that Scott did it. And that's what I was worried about. Okay. I don't think he did it. My money's still on Howard. Mary could be involved also. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Somehow they both could have been involved. Howard and Mary, or just Howard. Some people still got Marcus on the table, which is her son. Some people got Mr. Hennessy, which is Robert's father, on the table. I've heard the most, I don't want to say outrageous, but all kinds of theories. The only thing that's really thrown me off is the 6 feet in the bad shoulder has really got me, focus on Howard, which is what they want. Some people say maybe it's Eleanor. Why is Eleanor's mama going to be in the next episode? Okay, what's going on there? So I've heard Cora, child, I don't even know. And but who sent the footage? Now, my best guess would be Howard, but how did Howard know to send the video, and how did Howard have somebody sent it for it? Potentially Marcus while he was locked up, because it seems that it surfaced around the same time of his arrest, or because how would he have known that the Hennessy's were going to call? He ain't that many steps ahead. He could be a steps ahead with Mary, but Eleanor, he ain't got nothing to do with. So this week's coming episode is late Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. I may try and come and do a live like Wednesday night or maybe even Thursday after Divorce Sisters or something like that. I'm not really sure. uh worst case scenario Friday evening after, because Saturday and Sunday I'll be away. I gotta go pick up my baby, my big baby. But that season 8, which is the finale for the season, is called The Bridge. As new information emerges, Mary and Eleanor risk it all to expose the truth and find closure. So I'm curious to see what happens, what transpires. You get down in the comments and let me know who you guys think, who you guys have as the suspect. As we're gonna wrap it out, I was gonna say, I can't say what you're gonna expect in the finale, but who do you think it's gonna be when we get to the finale in a couple of days? Also, please tell a friend to tell a friend. Try to help your girl get to 700 by August 10th. Again, I thank you guys for coming through. I appreciate, I appreciate everybody so kindly. And I will see you good people in the next video. Peace, y'all.